So, all right, hello. Chris, thanks for jumping on. I think for time's sake, I will just ask you this question that came through on Instagram, and then I will record my response later. But yeah, was looking through our BGO Instagram account, find that link below here. And somebody out in LA asked, you saw one of the videos of me performing a Gojira tune just for fun, and then started asking about how long you've been playing, what are you doing, blah blah blah. So started up a conversation, and one of the questions that popped up I thought would be interesting to get your take. I said, what are the two main issues that you're currently facing in your 20 years of guitar playing? So first off, it's been 20 years. Secondly, that means you and I have been friends for like 17.
Yeah.
Kind of nuts.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, two issues. There could be lots of issues, or there could be one issue. I think there's really just one issue, and that's making sure, that you have your time for your music every day. I mean, making sure you're getting your playtime in. If you don't have your instrument in your hand, are you really a musician? And as life gets busy and other things happen, unforeseen things happen, you got to get that practice time in. And practice can be lots of different things. It can be working on a technical point, or reviewing some past repertoire, your own pieces you've written, other people's compositions you've worked up, but just getting some playtime in every day. And there's ways to make it work. Get the guitar set in a spot where you're going to get to it while you're waiting for coffee to brew up, and get that 10 minutes in, or tell yourself, I'm going to get 10 minutes of technical practice in, and then I'm going to do my 20 minutes on the treadmill, and then clean up and do another 30 minutes, and that's your time for the day. I mean, lots of ways to approach it, but it's just making sure that you don't let your busy life get in the way of the musical goals you set for yourself. And there's that idea of setting a SMART goal, right?
Yeah.
And so set a SMART goal for your practice and make it manageable. That's my biggest advice to everybody is, that funny old saying, inch by inch, life is a cinch. And we all look at, we all look at, those old colloquial, or those old phrases. And anyways, that it really makes a difference, just the same as putting $5 in a savings account every week after a year adds up. And 5 minutes a day adds up, then 10 minutes a day adds up, and just stay connected with your instrument. You got to get your instrument in your hands and make time for it. So prioritize it. I'm just shocked that I just continue to read studies about the use of screen time. And now it said the average American, when I just read last week, said the average American spends 10.5 hours a day in front of a screen. And granted, a lot of people are in front of computers for 8 hours a day for work, but, most jobs are 8 hours a day. So if you're adding another 2.5 hours of screen time yourself, like that's coming from someplace in your life that could be invested elsewhere, whether it's exercise or, playing music. And
yeah. So, well, and along those lines too is just the other studies of how many people are double dipping, right? So like you're watching a Timberwolves game and surfing the web on your phone, right? So not only is it 10 hours of screen time, but it might be 10 hours of multiple screens, but yeah, I think, and one thing to shout out, we just did a video on setting goals and managing goals as a new player. So we'll put a link in the description and link, one of those cards up. But, my response to him, and I guess just because you brought it up, I'll add on to it. My response to him was similar. It was, at some point my playing had to plateau because I was focused on other aspects of being a musician, right? Whether it was marketing, and how do you get your music out there? How do you, what does it look like to try to get, your band or yourself, a gig, right? Because that's a whole separate skill set from just performing. And then, the normal day job, family responsibilities. And then, like, now I have a little kid. So as much as I love that, Mesa you see in the background, that can't be fired up at 9 p.m. Because my son sleeping is more important than loud amps to the face.
Which is why you invested in your Helix, so you can just put your headphones on and still get your practice time in.
Yeah, the Helix, and then the neural DSP plugins, those are so good.
Yeah, the ability to practice, whether you're playing an acoustic guitar or an electric guitar, just the accessibility of quiet practice is not what it was 20 years ago. It was really hard to find an amplifier with a headphone out on it 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And now just the fact that you can plug literally into your laptop and plug into any number of audio recording programs that will give you a signal back that sounds like you're playing a pretty realistic amplifier. You can get that practice time in if you're just set for it. So just map out your time.
Well, and even just like GarageBand with the drum loops that they have, you pick a SoCal kit or something, if you want that kind of surfer chill rock vibe. And that's kind of perfect for, sitting and strumming.
Absolutely.
If anybody's interested in like walkthroughs of the different software and stuff we've talked about, let us know, drop a comment, hit us up online, and, we'll be happy to look into, making something along those lines. Cause it really is. Like, I remember when I started out playing, it was, grab one of those notation books, put it up, play. And that was it. That's all you had. Or you take the VHS or the DVD and put that in. Of course, now any of the new students would be like, what tech are you even talking about? It's the best we had. Yeah. So interesting. So that was thing one. Is there a second thing that kind of pops to your mind along those lines?
No, just keeping yourself progressing enough to start to, so two difficult things. I guess the second one, that nowadays, just with the affordability of things, isn't as much of an issue, but it used to be just, getting your hands on better equipment. You had such a drastic price jump between, a student level amplifier and a professional level amplifier, and a student level guitar and a professional level guitar. And, gosh, the student level stuff now sounds fantastic. And for the price, I mean, you couldn't get a guitar that played that well 20 years ago for the price. I mean, just
it ends up being just like really fine details, in terms of like material choice, or they actually took the time to sand off an edge,
right.
And I think the last guitar I bought, I think, was in that like $700-$800 price range.
Right.
Ernie Ball Music Man 7-string. And it's probably one of the better guitars I own. And it's most Ernie Ball guitars are $3,000. So this is definitely one of their import ones, but it's fantastic. Like, yeah, it's a great instrument.
Quality for affordability is just through the roof these days. We're living in the golden age of guitar, folks. There's never been a time ever where there's more affordable instruments available at such a high quality, and so many choices, and such a progression in just the the tech skills of instrument production. With CNC machines these days, they've dialed in this kind of craftsmanship that used to be only attainable at the custom shop level. And now you get an instrument that plays great, feels great, and literally comes off of the belt set up, practically, talking about little minutia that you only start to notice as you become a more advancing player. But for the beginner, the days of getting a crummy guitar that you can barely push the strings down and you're still practicing through that, it's over. I mean, everything is playable these days. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a good place to end. That's a good thought too, because there are, a lot of options, not just the starter kits, but even a brand like Ernie Ball, right? They have some entry level stuff that is really surprising in terms of quality.
it really is.
And even ESP and Ibanez and those guys, they make some really quality stuff depending
Yeah,
on the style you're looking to play, right?
totally. But that's the
Um,
other thing with the affordability of software. And most people have a laptop, and there's free software that you can plug into, and then there's programs like GarageBand built into the Macintosh platform that, yeah, I mean, just the sounds you can get as a beginner right away. It used to be if you
mhm,
wanted to work on Van Halen licks, you not only needed a guitar, but you needed an amp that could get a sizable amount of gain on it to provide the necessary distortion for working on those Van Halen licks.
right,
And then you often needed the supplement of some effects pedals that had to be purchased separately and all connected together, and that adds up. All that equipment adds up, and now you can plug a guitar, a moderately priced beginner guitar that plays well, into a software program and get a pretty convincing Eddie Van Halen tone
mhm,
to start working on some of those licks. If Van Halen's your idol, and which he's a lot of people's idol. I mean, so many
right,
of us have looked up to his playing, and may he rest in peace. But
right,
the ability to just dive right into getting that sound that helps you play that style is incredible. Or if you want to work on jazz, the ability to get that really warm, fat tube sound created through a digital environment is
right.
incredible.
Yeah, I mean, there are some challenges for sure, especially on the software side, because it's like you have to learn signal paths
You do.
way before you used to have, right? Because it's not as simple as just guitar, plug, amp, you know?
Right.
um but yeah, like I have this little like 15-watt Fender bass amp that I
Yeah.
got because I started out on bass in like sixth grade.
Yeah.
And it was the starter kit or whatever. This amp won't die. It is fantastic. I
Yeah.
changed the speaker out of it, but yeah, I mean it's one of the most clear, best sounding things ever. And for a really long time, it was just that single 112, or I think it's a 110 actually, um, with a Boss distortion pedal, and
Right.
that was my sound, you know,
Yeah.
for ever and ever and ever until it was like, oh, I'm a good enough player. I might be able to convince my parents to help me buy something, a big boy amp.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Right. Right. Exactly. Oh, and learning the signal paths, that brings back so many great memories. I remember being a young high school student, and one of my friends who he went out to Guitar Center and he bought a bunch of pedals that he'd been wanting to get, and he's hooking them up. And I remember hanging out with him, jamming at his house, and I just had like my guitar and a distortion pedal and my amp, and that's it. And he
Mhm.
bought a delay pedal and a reverb pedal and a flanger pedal and a wah wah pedal, and he plugged them all in. But I remember his setup, he was running his guitar into his delay,
Oof.
and then
Right
that
off
was,
the bat, wrong. Yeah.
yeah, right, right, I know. Learning about this, just great to watch the awareness of that develop as a young player. He goes into the
Right.
delay, then the delay's going into the distortion, then the distortion was going into the flange, then all of that was going into the wah, and then right at the end was his tuner pedal. And
Which,
I
I mean, it's definitely a sound, right? I mean, if you're
oh yeah,
going for
yeah.
interesting sounds, that's for sure. But
Oh, it was just great. And
yeah,
having so much fun, with that.
yeah.
And then, you start to, you're like, this is just, something's not sounding right. you know it's like you're going weeks before getting it in the proper order, because you're trying to find people who can help you figure out why it doesn't sound good, moving stuff around yourself. And I
Right.
remember hearing one of my favorite stories about the Beatles was In an interview I read, George Harrison was talking about when he was a young guitar player, when he was like 14 years old, he rode a bus 1 hour each way to visit this guy who was the friend of a friend who
Yeah.
could play guitar really well. And George Harrison wanted to learn how to play a B7 chord and a couple other chords, but he really wanted to learn how to play a B7 chord.
Right. That's a
He took a
turnaround chord. Yeah.
yeah, right. And he took a bus an hour each way to, go get the information from this guy. And I just think to myself, man, that's dedication. You got
Yeah.
George Harrison. Look what he accomplished. Look at the incredible guitar player he became. And he wanted it. He just went after the knowledge, and he never stopped growing, and spent his whole Saturday probably just to go learn a chord progression.
Right. And it would be interesting. I don't know, maybe somebody's done this, but it would be interesting to find out if he used the B7 the majority of the time. Because if you put in a 2-hour bus ride for one chord, you'd think you'd want to get your usage out of it.
I'm gonna make sure this makes it into every song.
Exactly. I'm starting on the damn.
Hit the 5 right off the bat.
Yeah. Well, cool. All right, man. Well, I appreciate the time.
Hey, you bet.
We're gonna end here, and thanks for doing that. Thank you to anybody who's reached out to us on our Instagram channel, our Facebook page, anybody who's left a comment on the YouTube stuff. We greatly appreciate that. And feel free. This is a spot for everybody to share and learn. So looking forward to do more of that. So have a good rest of your day, and see you down the pipe.
Yeah, sounds great.
Later, man.